you were me and you needed $10,000 this week, what would you do? If it was just strictly doing outreach and trying to get clients, I think the best option, honestly, is trying to, one or two, if you don't have any content, you just create some very simple content. So what I did was, and so when I did that, more people would show up to the calls. And when they show up to the call, they're like, oh yeah, I read your emails. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're doing. And so it was a little more qualified. My biggest hack is literally, it's not like the first people that come up with a strategy or the first people like just finding something brand new that nobody else is doing, but find what's actually working and then just do it better than what the person is doing.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. I'm super excited to be here with Karston, newly bearded Karston Fox, actually. And today we're going to be discussing the most innovative strategies of 2024 when it comes to outreach. Karston is a highly sought after outreach consultant by some of the people that, pretend to know a lot about this. They're the ones reaching out to him because they aren't really staying up on the trends, and Karston knows what's up here. So thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me, Keaton Walker.
Good to be here. So give us a little recap. How was 2023 for you? What were you selling primarily? Who were you selling it to, and how did it go?
Yeah, 2023 this is obviously my best year ever. I think what really shifted for me was just really focusing on inbound. In 2022, I did a lot of outbound and inbound, right? My whole thing is outbound. And inbound is obviously like YouTube videos or a Facebook group or trying to get somebody to come to you. And so I was trying to do that a little bit. I invested in some YouTube courses or trying to figure out how to do YouTube and Facebook or just get people to come to me as much as I possibly could. And then everything kind of blew up in like December 31st of 2022. So January was my biggest month ever at that time. And I blew up pretty significantly on YouTube, to me at least. And so I got a ton of clients from there. And I just kind of been focusing on that ever since, like getting people to come to me as much as possible, but also focusing on because my whole thing I'm selling is outbound, right? So trying to come up with new strategies that other people can use to get a lot of appointments. So I think my journey has kind of been, what's pretty cool about it is that it's exactly what I'm kind of telling people what they should do, which is start with outbound, do as much outbound as you can, get some clients in the door, and then you do inbound, try to get people to come to you once you have results and you're growing. So that's what kind of happened for me.
It brings up a question that I've been thinking about a lot recently. Should you still be doing outbound if you're happy with the amount you have from inbound?
Yeah, I think I don't really do outbound anymore. Like I do outbound just a test. So like I'll go into just a random industry, just try to do outbound just to make sure I still know I'm good at what I do. But we get so many calls that it's like, it just doesn't make any sense. If I spend 3 hours on a video or, 3 to 10 hours on a video, and I book, 20 calls from that one video versus spending 3 to 10 hours doing outreach, you might be able to book 1 to 2 calls per hour, which I guess is around the same amount, I guess. But for me, it's a longer term play where the video a Facebook group or a video, it's just an asset that keeps going forever and ever. But one outreach message is it's just 1-to-1, right? So if one video can go to thousands of people, but one outreach message goes to one person, obviously like it still works and it still works great. And so I think you should do both. But if the inbound is actually really good, then I would just focus all your attention on that.
Yeah. And when you have someone come to you, you have instant authority over them. Like they booked the call with you, you didn't reach out to them. Therefore, you're more in control of that call. You're more in control of how it goes. And that person ideally should respect you more. Most of the time, that's the case.
Yeah. I think most people that watch my videos or your videos, I think they're mostly, they don't want to do the videos yet though, just because they're just not in that place, right? So like I can't speak on how to get solar leads because I don't even have a solar client, So that's a fallacy. But what worked really well too was when I actually started doing like these weird outreach strategies like Google Calendar invites, whatever, and I also was creating YouTube content doing inbound and outbound. People would look Karston Fox up because they saw a random email from me, and then they would find, oh, I have Twitter, I have a Facebook group, I have my YouTube. And so it would help me a lot when I did outbound because they're like, oh, I looked you up and I saw that, blank. So, yeah.
Yeah, even just the account. Some people won't look up the name, but they'll click on the account to see if there's content on there. So it's not mutually exclusive. But here's my thing, like when it comes to outbound, and maybe this is a mindset issue that I have, but I feel like there's a part of me that just doesn't want to do outbound for what I'm selling now. And when I was an agency owner, I eventually stopped doing it once I had enough to inbound, because it's not something a sophisticated business in my mind is doing, right? Like
Hmm.
the internet company isn't DMing you saying, "Hey, you should, join our internet service," because they don't need to, because they run ads and they have a brand. Is there a world in which that's not the case and the most sophisticated business actually is doing outbound? And what does that look like?
Yeah. So I think outbound, I'm sure we've all read Alex Ramosey's $100 million offers, or no, what's the other one? $100 million leads, right? And I think he got a lot wrong, and I made a whole video about that. But uh,
Hmm.
he was saying, it takes at least 6 months before outbound becomes profitable, and you need to build up this whole team, you need all this stuff. But to me, that's not what I found. And I see huge companies
Yeah, I
like,
feel like that couldn't be more wrong. I think he's
yeah,
talking like Jim Launch built a like proper cold calling team, and that took him 6 months to become profitable on, because of how sophisticated they were trying to make it, and the fact that it wasn't like if it's a one man person trying to start their agency, you don't need to like hire a team and
yeah.
wait 6 months to get a client. Anyway, I cut you off. Keep going.
But there's actually a guy that's in my group right now who he works at ZoomInfo. I probably shouldn't say that, but ZoomInfo is like the biggest B2B data software company, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and maybe even a billion. And he's basically just an SDR. He does the cold email for ZoomInfo, and I think a lot of in the bigger industries, like probably not for, like Disney's not doing cold outreach, but in almost every B2B field, there's still a ton of SDRs. So if you think about even
Mm.
radio stations, they're always constantly reaching out to people, trying to get people to advertise on their radio station, just stuff like that. And so they build out teams bigger
Yeah.
and bigger and bigger. And I know plenty of people, like we just talked about before this call, where they have teams of 300 people, and hiring more and more. And these are just all people that are cold calling for other businesses. So it can be pretty lucrative and pretty big. And I think it is a lot more efficient than ads. Right? If I spend $100 setting up a cold email campaign and get 10 clients, versus your cost per click or cost per call might be $200, $300, or even more. And like some weeks you'll have a ton of calls, some weeks you'll have no calls, yet you spent the same amount of money on the Facebook ads. So I think it is with cold outreach, it's just linear scale, right? So I know if I send out 100 messages, I'm going to get 5 to 10 responses, and then 2 to 3 book calls out of that, 5 to 10. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point on the B2B versus B2C, because every
yeah,
big B2B company is doing outreach. But they're also building a brand, they're also running ads, they're doing everything. And I think that's the trap a lot of beginners fall into, is they limit themselves to this one acquisition method. I had a student who I was repeating as a coach what I had been told, which was like, never run ads until you have 3 clients, because you need proof of concept. And he talked to another coach who just happened to be like at lunch with him or something. And he was like, look, you're an agency owner. Like, if you're going to tell somebody to run ads, you need to learn how to run ads. And you should be like, there's some congruence there. And so he turned on his own ads, and that's how he got his first 5 clients.
Hmm.
And, don't think that outreach is the only way, even though if you do it as Karston teaches, it is cost effectively likely the best method to get clients. There's advantages to people coming to you, building a brand, focusing on the long-term vision. But for those first 10 clients, like, outreach and force of will is pretty much like how you get there.
yeah,
In that situation, someone's brand new, they go to your channel, there's a million different videos on a million different really creative outreach strategies, but which one is the right one for them?
yeah. I just created a video called 27 outreach strategies, and after I created that video, I realized I have so many more than what was in that video. And it wasn't just outreach strategies; it's like 27 strategies to get clients. And I've used, I think, probably 25 of the 27, right? There's a few that, I'm like, oh, this would be a good idea. Most of them I've actually used to actually get clients for myself. And again, there were some other ones that I forgot even to put in there. And so there is so many options to get clients. And I think the problem is that no one's actually just doing the work, and everyone thinks about, oh, I make sure the website's good. Let me make sure that the outreach message is actually good, but you don't actually send the message out to people or actually just do the action to get the client. I think anyone starting out, people ask me this all the time, where it's like, if you were me and you needed $10,000 this week, what would you do? And you're like, I probably would go rob a bank. But if it was just strictly doing outreach and trying to get clients, I think the best option, honestly, is trying to, one, steal clients from somebody else, or two, try to steal somebody else's audience. What I mean by that is, there are Facebook groups. This is the best. It's so good. There's Facebook groups of, let's just say you're reaching out to plumbers. You go to a plumber Facebook group and you just say, hey, does any plumber need hot water heater repairs? Comment hot water below, right? And you have 100 plumbers commenting hot water, hot water, hot water. And that's the best, right? You just, because those are people raising their hands saying, I'm interested in your offer. So you don't have to, if you DM 100 people, only 3% of those are ready to buy. But when you put that post out, the 3% identify themselves, and you can just reach out to all those. So you know all of them are ready to buy. That's the best option. The problem with that is in these plumber groups or in any Facebook group, a lot of times there's an owner that doesn't want you to post in their group. And so they'll kick you out of the group if you post something that's like salesy. Now, there's some groups where you can get away with that, where you can just post in the group, and let's just say the owner doesn't really manage the group, or there's a lot of other people promoting themselves, and so you can get away. But let's just say you can't find any groups where you can post whatever you want. The next option is we go to a group where there is an owner and they're promoting their own products. Like they posted something saying, hey, does anyone need more hot water heater repairs? So then they have 100 comments, people saying, yes, I'm interested. Yes, I'm interested. You can just reach out to the people that commented on that post because they're already raising their hand. And usually only, let's just say 10% of those people that commented on the post will actually buy from the person that posted it. Because then the other 90%, maybe the price was too high or too low, or there was something missing, or they didn't have a guarantee, all this other stuff. And so you can close another 10% of the other 90 comments that didn't close from that original post. So it's like the best way. Another thing people are doing, this is actually, I don't know if I want to share that one, but there's one thing that I did in the video. I think it's called, I got how to get appointments from your phone, where I went into a Facebook group, and it was the industry was videographers, and the group was, I need a videographer. And so people were posting in that group, hey, I need a videographer in Las Vegas. I'm willing to spend, $3,000. Can anybody help me out? And then there's videographers saying, I'm interested. And those people, they're obviously not looking for marketing, but they're on Facebook and they're looking for leads on Facebook. And so if I reach out to them because they're looking for leads on Facebook, and I said, hey, I can get you 10 videography jobs in Las Vegas. Are you interested? And they say, oh yeah, of course, right? Because they obviously were raising their hand to something else on there. You can do the same for LinkedIn or Instagram. Instagram's a little tougher, right? Because there's no like Instagram groups, but you can go to somebody else that's targeting the same audience. Let's just say someone else that's targeting videographers. And then they say, hey, does anyone want this free thing, whatever? Comment this below. And then they have a whole bunch of comments or a whole bunch of likes. You go through the likes and just reach out to people that liked that post. And so that's the easiest way to find people that are like actually desperate and interested in that service.
Yeah, they've already raised their hand. It just was on somebody else's profile.
Yeah, which makes it easy for us.
I love that. Okay, so yes, very accessible for beginners, and you're cutting all of the noise of like reaching out to the 100 people who aren't interested. Like you're going to have a much higher response rate just given the fact that you're reaching out to people who have raised their hand and said, I need this service, or I'm looking to grow my business in general. What's the most insane way to do it? Like, let's just say I'm an out of the box thinker. I'm brand new. I'm trying to, get some outreach done, and I want a creative way to reach out to people. Give us your top
most
weird
insane
way.
All right, I just came up with this new strategy, which is FaceTime outreach, and that was lucrative. That was crazy. A 40% pickup rate and a 10% booking rate, which like SMS is like the next closest thing, which is a 30% response rate and a maybe 5% booking rate. Mm-hmm. So, I called 10 people, and you book one call out of 10 people. I called like 40. I got 4 calls out of 40, right? So that was pretty lucrative. All you're doing, I basically found the mobile numbers of owners, founders, CEOs of certain companies. I called them on FaceTime audio. I tried regular FaceTime calls. That didn't work. FaceTime audio did work better. And then I just said, hey, I just want to see if you're open to a simple partnership. I want to see if I can send you some leads. I have a system that works really well for me, and I want to see if I can implement it for you. And they're like, oh yeah, how does that work? I can show you more if you're free. Maybe Monday 2 p.m. Does that work? Yeah, that works. Okay, cool. And so then I would just ask them to text me back their email, and I'll move forward from there. So that was pretty
All right.
lucrative. Um,
So it's not showing up as like spam likely or whatever else because of you're leveraging the Apple ecosystem.
Yeah, but it works for Androids too. All you have to do though is you just text them first saying, "Hey John, this is Nathan. Can I call you real quick?" And then when you actually call them, or when it's on an iPhone, it'll say maybe Nathan at the top. So like maybe this is someone I actually know. And on top of that, 95%
Smart.
of texts are read within the first 5 minutes. And so they're going to read your text and they're like, "Who's this person trying to call me?" And then you actually call them. And I would pick. I get hundreds of calls a day, and I'm sure you do too. I don't pick up any of them because it's really annoying. But if someone texted me first and then called me, I'd be like, maybe this person actually knows me, and then I pick up the phone. So
Yeah. Very cool. So that you're not saying you can use FaceTime audio with Android. You're just saying text them first and then
yeah,
call them.
yeah, and I had a very similar pickup rate. It was like still a 40% pickup rate with Android. Just make sure they're mobile numbers. Like if it's a landline, you're just going to get much less response rate or like even callback rate on a
Yeah.
landline. So
Cool. So I don't want to dive too much into scraping. If you're wondering, like, how do I get the phone numbers to call? Karston has a bunch of videos on that. But what I do want to cover, because most people who are a little bit past that beginner stage inevitably run into, I booked a call. I'm so excited. They go party. They're like, I'm going to close this person. They put all their money on blackjack that night, and then the next day the person no shows, and like they're heartbroken. I feel like another one of my biggest beefs with cold outreach is show rates and authority, because a 5-second phone call just isn't as likely to get someone to show up as a 10-minute YouTube video where you provided a lot of value, help them see something in a new light, and help them see you as an expert. So how do we ensure somebody shows up when we're doing cold calling, FaceTime outreach, DMing people from the videographer, Facebook groups, etc.? All of these outbound strategies. How do we ensure as many as possible show up?
yeah, that's a good question. I think there's two elements to this. First element is where we're reaching out. So I'll go over that, and then we'll go over how to actually make sure people show up. So when you're reaching out, there's like different levels, I'd say. Like there's SMS cold calling, voicemail drops. That's like the easiest calls to get, but the lowest quality. And then there's DMs. So there's like Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Those are a little tougher to get, still pretty easy, but higher quality. And then there's, let's say, YouTube content where you actually kind of have to be an authority. Some of those can be really low quality. Some of those can be really high quality. I'll get into that. Like there's levels into that one too. So SMS, when you're what I tell everybody for SMS or for cold calling, the goal is just get them onto a booked sales call, because they do not want to be on that cold call. They do not want to text you back and forth on SMS. Even though people use SMS every day to text back and forth, it's just a string of numbers. They have no clue who you are. So the goal is just to convince them that you're a real person, get them over to a call. So it's just, hey, are you interested in this offer? Yes, I am. Cool. Can I call you tomorrow at 10 p.m. EST? Yes, you can. Cool. I'll call you then. And that's the ideal situation for an SMS conversation. For cold calling, the same thing. Hey, I have this offer. Are you interested? Yes, I am. Can I call you tomorrow? Right. So the problem with that is we haven't spent really any time with them. And so we kind of have no leverage. And so then we hop on the call. Like it's really easy because it was easy to get in. It's easy to get out. And that's with like anything. That's true with anything. Like if it's easy to get into something, I think into a relationship or into, I don't know, just like if there's an easy in, there's an easy out. If it goes, or I think there's a Bible verse where it's, if you make a lot of money quickly, usually you lose it all, which is true with, that's a whole other philosophy thing. But anyways, easy calls to get are usually lower quality. And then there's the DM side of things. So on DMs, I try to get people to have more of a conversation. The reason it's a little easier to have a conversation on there, I don't try to do the building rapport approach, which is like, hey, how's your day going? You can still go out with a straight pitch offer, but you can have a conversation. The reason it's easier is because on Facebook, you have your profile, or on LinkedIn, you have your profile. People can see you. They can see that you're a real person. But on SMS or on email, you're just some random person that reached out to them. They have no clue who you are. But most people, if you reach out to them and they're actually interested, the first thing they're going to do is click on view profile. Make sure you have some content that's actually decent. And they know that you're a real person. And then they're going to respond to you. And then I have a DM script. It's free it's on YouTube. And it's just, yeah, I'm interested. Okay, cool. This is how it works. Who do you target mainly? Or where are you located? Or what do you do right now to get clients? So you're asking a qualifying question. And then they say, this is what we do, right? And they say, okay, if I were you, this is what I would do if I were you. And then you give them some sort of value, like, hey, this would work really well. And they're like, oh, thank you for the value. And then you ask for the call. So now you gave them something, and then you're asking something in return. Hey, give me a call, or are you free to chat maybe sometime this week? And that works a lot better. And so the calls I get from Facebook, I'll get like a 10% close rate from SMS outreach. I'll get a 50% close rate from Facebook outreach. Even though you can't send too many Facebook messages. I was only getting like one Facebook call per day when I was doing it consistently. But if I'm closing 50% of them, it's just way better, right? Because you have a little more leverage, because you spent more time with them, you gave them some value, and we had like it wasn't as easy to get that call. And then YouTube, and this is the layers I was talking about earlier. So there's YouTube videos I posted where they're 5 minutes long. They get a lot of views. People really like it. And then I'll get a ton of booked calls from that video. But then I won't have like 80% of them won't even show up, because it's just like a lot of 15-year-olds or 14-year-olds that are like, oh, I want to start an agency. This looks pretty cool. Book a call. And I make it really easy to book a call with my team on YouTube. It's just a straight link. You click that and you book a call. You can also go through the freebie. There's a free course, whatever. But the harder we make it for them to book the call, or the more they have to go through, the more likely they're going to show up to the call. So I also have videos. I posted one recently. It's an hour long of every niche I've ever targeted. So it's like an hour, 20 minutes. It's very in depth. And I've gotten so many clients from that video. It has less views, maybe, I don't know, like less views than most of my videos. But I got so many clients from it because people, if they stick and they watch to the end, they just spent an hour with Karston. So then they really feel like they know me, and I provide a lot of value to them. And so now they want to convert. So I think there's levels to it. The reason that some cold outreach strategies work better than others is because you're spending more time with them and you're giving them more value. So they feel like they have to give you value in return by hopping on the call. But just like a random SMS from some person that they don't know, there's no reason for them to show up. But if you're doing all these outreach strategies and you're trying to just increase open rate or show rate as much as possible, what I do is you create a nurture sequence. So anytime someone does book a call with you, if you don't have any content, you just create some very simple content. So what I did was I was reaching out to solar companies. I hadn't barely worked with any solar companies, right? I barely knew what I was doing. But what I did was I just, whenever they booked a call with me, or they said, yeah, I'm interested, call me tomorrow, and I say, okay, what's a good email to send an invite to? I would just book it in myself. And then I had on Go High Level emails going out every 3 hours. And so, hey, this is how we get results for solar companies. Hey, this is how we got a 12x ROI for this solar company. I was just taking case studies from other people, like whatever they were doing. And then also how we run ads and how it works better than all the other ads, just random stuff like that. So consistently providing value to them, showing them that you are an expert and you know what you're doing. So even if they didn't know who you were, now you're kind of building up authority. And so when I did that, more people would show up to the calls. And when they show up to the call, they're like, oh yeah, I read your emails. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're doing. And so it was a little more qualified. And then also on top of that, obviously you just want to have appointment reminders. So
great. Yeah. Video and email are the leverage points that a lot of people don't realize that they should be leveraging, because if you can get somebody to say, raise their hand and say they're interested, and then you send them some value, they watch that. That's how I got to 10K a month. Was I made one video and I would just reach out to people and I'd say, what's your biggest marketing headache? And they would say whatever it was. And I'd say, I made a video about that. Here it is. They'd watch the video. 10 minutes later, it'd be like, how do I sign up? Mm-hmm. And the video wasn't even that good. Like the video was what I was able to make after studying marketing for like 6 months, yeah, and running an agency for one. So it's not difficult to make something that the average person is like, wow, this is impressive, and this guy really knows what he's talking about.
All you got to do is just like say something that nobody else is saying, and everyone's like, oh, holy cow, really?
Yeah. So. Yeah. Everybody's going to tell you that sales is important. It's not. And then find some reason to justify that.
Yeah. I was actually watching some Danny Kennedy stuff the other day, and he was like, the ads that actually work better are the ones that, or the ones that he's tested, are the ones that like make completely no sense. Like it's obviously kind of fake, but people are like, but how, right? So he was giving an example of the $1 million retirement plan that only costs $10 a month. And you're like, what the heck? It's like, obviously that's not real. But they're like, how does that work? And that ad pulled so well. So just doing like those crazy, and I think that's just a matter of studying marketing. People can do that, but yeah, I don't know.
Love it. Okay. So let's hear about your best client success story from this year. First of all, how does the actual process of working with you happen? So they sign up and then it's like coaching, or you're actually doing done for you?
Yeah.
And then tell us about somebody who just crushed it.
So it depends. I have several different offers. I'm creating more things as we go, but let's just say on average, it's just, hey, I'll help you set up the systems. I'll give you up and running so that you're, sending out outreach messages consistently every day on autopilot. And then once you're running, you're good, right? This year, I mean, I've had a few people that did pretty well. I think probably the best was some guy that was, I think he's 156,000 a month. But when I say that, it's like we started at maybe 40, 50, and now we're at 150, right? That's a huge jump, an extra $100,000 a month. But it's like he was already at 50, right? So it's like for beginners, I'm not like 0 to 150. That's not like that. And he was also already in the industry for 10 years. So, but other than that, I'd say I try to give really realistic expectations. Everyone's like, I have so many people that reach out, I'm sure to you too. Like, I'm really motivated and I want to make $20,000 next month. Like, yeah, bro, that's great. I'm really proud of you, but that's not that realistic. So I try to be realistic. And I've had people this year 0 to 30K within a couple months, 3 or 4 months, 0 to 20K within a couple weeks or within a month or so. So that's not too difficult to do, but on average, I'd say if you want to get to 20K or 30K, I'd say you can get to about 30K in about a year. Like that's what I've seen. Matt Lucero, as you know, he's hit 30, I think maybe 40K this month, and we started working with him October, August last year, right? And so it took, obviously within 6 months he was at 10K. That's realistic. Almost a year, maybe a year and 2 months into it, now he's at 30, 40K, which is obviously, it's much better doing marketing for a year and getting the 40K rather than going to school for 4 years just to make 60K a year. So yeah, anyways. All right, we set up systems.
But before we get started, our sponsor, High Level, has very kindly sponsored this episode. So let's talk about them for a minute. If you don't know already, High Level is the top sales and marketing solution for any business, but particularly agency owners or anybody that needs a software product to resell to their existing customer base. It has everything you need to capture, nurture, and close leads for marketing clients. And the best part is High Level believes in not taxing the agencies on its platform, so you can get unlimited clients for one low flat monthly fee. The best features include a CRM, funnel, website and email builders, course hosting platform, robust marketing automation builder, a consolidated chat stream with WhatsApp, email, SMS, Instagram DMs, and Facebook DMs, reputation management, social media posting, tracking and analytics, and so much more. And as if that wasn't enough, High Level is fully white labeled, meaning that you can take the platform and put your own brand on the desktop and mobile app and resell it to your industry for whatever price you want. Essentially, what High Level has done is brought the bar for starting a software company way lower, so normal people like you and I can help our clients with an amazingly robust software without paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in development costs. I am not kidding when I say hands down, High Level is my favorite software of all time and has been integral to my success with my agency. It helped me increase my clients' results and retention, and I use it every single day for my own business. And if you sign up for High Level today, not only will you get a 30-day free trial, which is not available on their website, but you'll get all of the bonuses listed at itskeaton.com/mastermind, which gets you support, templates, and courses to kickstart your High Level journey and get those first few clients or scale to your next few clients. If you're already a High Level customer, you can also get all of those bonuses by upgrading to the next highest plan underneath my link. Instructions for that are also at itskeaton.com/mastermind. So the guy that went from 40 to 50K a month to 150K a month, what outreach strategies did you employ there and how did that work?
It was more of he was just focusing on too many things. So he had like 3 or 4 different offers, and he had one really good offer that was crushing for him. And I was like, look, that's worth a lot of money. Increase the price. He's charging like 30 grand for it. And so now he's charging 60, 70 grand for it. And then I was like, all right. And then whatever's the main thing that I tell people to do, right? Especially people that are like, they're having some good success. That's like the best scenario. They're having some good success and like, how do I get this to work more? I'm like, okay, what are you doing to get that success? And they're like, oh, we're doing this thing. I'm like, okay, do that more. That's it. Just whatever you're doing, do that more. Yeah. So as an example, I just don't want to like tell too much I don't know if he is comfortable with me sharing that, but some other guy, I'll give an example, just perfect example, almost parallel to him. He is a guy that goes to my church. He does beekeeping. And I'm like, that's cool. And he said, oh man, I made $12,000 this month. I'm like, I didn't even know that was possible for a beekeeper. And he's like, I'm projected to make $20,000 next month, whatever. Like, how are you doing that? And he's asking me, like, because he knows I do marketing, how would I make more money as a beekeeper? And so he told me that the way that he's getting all these beekeeping jobs is he has one guy that is a pest control company. A pest control company can't remove bees because there's certain ways of doing it. And all they do, a pest control company, they just kill everything. And we can't kill certain bees, right? So the pest control company, every time they get a bee job, they're like, okay, we'll call this guy. This guy will take out the bees for you. And so he's just getting a whole bunch of referrals. So now I hear that, right? He has this one referral guy that's sending him $20,000 worth of beekeeping jobs every month. I'm like, all you got to do is reach out to every beekeeping company in Dayton, Ohio, or every pest control company in Dayton, Ohio, and say, hey, I just want to see if you're open to a partnership. I'll give you 10% of the leads that you bring my way if you can send me any beekeeping jobs. You create 5 partnerships. Now you're at $100,000 per month as a beekeeper. So it's very simple. Just, okay, stop focusing on all the other things. Focus on what's actually working a lot and just do that more. And so that's kind of how we got him to 150K. So
love it. What about one of these smaller stories? Someone that went from 0 to 20K in a month. What did you do for them when there was no prior indication of success or something else to go off of there?
Yeah, some of them. I have one kid that I think he just hit. He's only been in for like 3 weeks. I think he just did 15K or 20K, something like that. And I think the real thing is he just found what the market really wanted, which was, and he's just selling B2B. That's also something where I kind of teach how to start a B2B agency rather than a regular marketing agency, just because I think it's a little easier. And so he was doing a B2B agency, which is basically you help other businesses target other businesses. So you help other staffing agencies or other marketing agencies, nonprofit organizations, business insurance, just whatever, right? Target other businesses by doing cold outreach for them. And so he found out what the market wanted. He used some of the crazy like hacking strategies that I talk about, where it's like stealing other people's clients or posting in a group and getting people to respond to you. He was just using those, and he was able to get like 5-10 calls a day just from doing stuff like that. And so he was able to close a lot of deals really quickly. So that's one. And then other people, yeah, I think the people that were able to grow that quickly, a lot of people come in, they're like, oh, I want to target med spas. I'm like, it's not a good idea. And so I'm like, why don't you just try to start a B2B agency? So I try to lead them towards that. Yeah. And they start doing that. And it is a lot easier to sell because usually B2B companies are already making more money. And the systems because I'm teaching you the systems. This is exactly how you get appointments, right? So a lot of people that were trying to start one agency, I kind of lead them into starting a B2B agency. And then I teach them, I just do LinkedIn outreach, like just the basic stuff, like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, do as much as you can. And then, it takes 2 weeks, 3 weeks before, anyone actually start, like the thing about all this outreach stuff is once you have that system, once it actually starts working, you just got to keep redoing it, and you'll get a ton of clients. And so you'll go from 0 clients for 3-4 weeks, and then you'll finally get 1 client. And then you go from 1 to 5 clients in 1 week because you found something that worked and you just keep repeating it. So I had a lot of those where they started at nothing, and then 3 weeks, nothing. And then all of a sudden something clicks, and then you get 5 clients in 1 week. Now we're making $10,000. Holy cow. We went from working at a gas station to making $10,000 just because I found this thing that worked consistently. And then you just keep repeating. And then the hard part, honestly, that's what I tell everybody, like your hard part won't be actually getting the clients. That'll be really easy for you. The hard part is going to be actually fulfilling on the clients because then you have too many. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Karston, I'm a beginner and I've been sending outreach messages like you say in your videos for the last 2 months. I've sent 1,000 messages and no one has gotten back to me. SMMA is dead. What do you have to say?
So I actually just edited a video on why you're not getting appointments. I think the main 3 things are, 1, people aren't seeing your messages. So you're going to spam on email or on Facebook, whatever. So like if nobody's responding, something's wrong, right? If you're coming to me and the numbers are 0% response rate, 0% open rate, something's wrong, right? So you're doing something wrong there. So that's one thing. And so we need to fix that. If people are actually seeing the messages, they're not responding, then they do not care about the offer. And so we need to change the message and adjust the message to make it actually something that they care about. And then if the people still aren't responding and the message is really good, then it's the audience. And so if you're reaching out to e-commerce or med spas, everybody reaches out to e-commerce and med spas. It's really hard to get appointments in those industries. Not that it's impossible, but especially as a beginner, if you have somebody else that's, they have all these credentials, they've done way more work in the med spa space or in the e-commerce space than you, and you're just starting out as a small fry and you just want to target e-com brands, it's going to be impossible. You can do it with just brute force, but it's just not even worth it to me. And so I would just say your best thing you can do is make sure that people are actually seeing your messages first. And the second thing is, but most people that come to me like that, they're just not actually sending messages. That's the problem. And so like, oh, I'm not getting appointments. Like, how many messages have you sent? Oh, I spent maybe 200 over the past month. I'm like, that's the problem. I should be sending 200 a day. But if you are sending messages, all right, make sure they're not going to spam, and then test different messages, make it shorter, sweeter, better, higher. Just think about in your head, if I could scam anybody and the government couldn't do anything about it, what would I say? All right, we want to think like a scammer, and then reverse it back to something that you can actually do. So if it was, sometimes my message is, I'll help you get 120 appointments per month, and if it doesn't work, I'll pay you $3,000. And everyone's like, how does that work, right? And so I get a ton of responses from something like that. And then sometimes I'll send from a girl account, so people are just more responsive to girls. Like, and so it's like, how do I BS? And you also, when you're sending out messages, you're not obligated to do anything. There is no false advertising if you're not actually selling the thing, right? And so just even if you can't figure out how to fulfill on that, like how to get 120 appointments, or if it doesn't work, I'll pay you $3,000. I know how I can fulfill on that, and I know how to like kind of make sure that I'm safe. And I've pitched that offer to several people. I've never had to pay anybody. But just think of the best thing you could possibly come up with, and then just start sending the messages. And if people are responsive, then we know it works, and then we can try to figure out, okay, how would I actually make this a reality? And then if that,
so just don't even respond to them if they respond back to you. You have no idea how to do it.
Yeah.
Fair.
Or
it takes away it's like when you get on a sales call and you're like, I don't care if this closes.
Yeah.
Like you're a way better salesperson. Same thing with the messages. Like just pretend it doesn't matter if that person answers.
Yeah.
And send something. Like try to get a yes.
Yeah,
and if you can get a yes on a fake thing, you can probably get a yes on a real thing, but it's going to teach you what people respond to.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah.
How do you make sure you don't have to pay people the $3,000?
Yeah. So how I do it is you give them obligations. So we say, hey, look, we're going to sign an agreement, and then here's how it works, right? It's $3,000. You pay me $3,000, and if it doesn't work, I'll give you double your money back guarantee. And so now we've justified that, right? So I'm going to give you double your money back, which means I'm going to give you back your $3,000 plus an extra $3,000 for wasting your time. But in order for us to be able to do that, you have to be able to send 200 messages per day for 60 days, and you have to be able to prove that you sent 200 messages per day for 60 days. And if you don't get at least one lead or some leads from the system within that 60 days, then I'll give you double your money back. And if anybody sends out 200 messages a day, even just saying, would you like a pickle? Somebody's going to say yes, right? And so that counts as a lead, and therefore I'm safe, right? Now, you don't want to, I'm not trying to scam anybody, right? And I want to actually provide value to people. I know my systems work. If they want a refund, I'll give it. If you want a refund for any reason, you say, Karston, go kill yourself, I want my money back. I'll give you your money back. I don't care. But the double your money back guarantee thing, I can't. That just puts me at risk. And so I have to keep myself safe too. So that's what I do.
Yeah. Okay. So any leads disqualifies them from the double your money back. Yeah. Okay. Continue with the devil's advocate routine. But Karston, 200 messages a day. How am I going to do that? I have a full-time job and 5 adopted kittens and a wife. I'm busy.
Yeah.
How am I going to send 200 messages a day?
Yeah. Well, there's this new thing called automations, if you ever heard of them. And almost every platform has some sort of automation. So what I would do, if you have a 9-to-5 job, you set up an automation early in the morning, right? So this is what I would do. I had a job where it was like 8:15 to 6 p.m. and you got like a half an hour lunch. It was just, and I couldn't work while I was, working, because it was like literally cold calling 300 people a day. So I couldn't do anything else while I was doing that, right? So I wasn't able to spend a lot of time on the agency side of things. So what I did is in the morning, I get up and I set up a Facebook automation. All right, so Facebook automation is going to send out 50 messages today. Instagram automation is going to send out 50 messages today. LinkedIn automation sending out 50 messages today. Email automation is running, right? Whatever you need to do to send out messages to people, or also what's the other one? Let's just say SMS or voicemails, whatever, right? Email, right? Yeah. So we have whatever automations would work, or whatever channel would work for the industry you're targeting. You set up the automations, let them run. At noon, I would check them. And so, during my lunch break, I would check, okay, did anyone respond to my Facebook messages? And then just respond back to anyone that's responded on Facebook or LinkedIn or SMS, right? And then even if you're sending messages, you can just do it from your phone. You have your laptop doing everything, all the automations at home, and you can just manage everything from your phone. And then at 5 o'clock, or, when work is done or when school's done, right? People that are in school, you just try to respond to messages during there, or you can take a 15-minute bathroom break and respond to messages while you're at work, right? And then also, if you come home and it's nighttime, but like I said earlier, the best thing to do is do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. So if you called people at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., nobody else is cold calling at 7 p.m., right? Technically, it's kind of illegal to call past 6 p.m., but no one's gonna mark you, whatever. It's like no one's getting fined for calling at 7 p.m. on accident, right? You say, oh, sorry, I didn't know what time it was there. My bad, right? And so if you call at 7 p.m. or nobody else is calling at 7 p.m., I get way more responses while I'm sleeping than I get during the day. I'll wake up to 20 messages where people are messaging me at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning, and they're in the United States. They're not like in Pakistan, right? And so if you're messaging people at 9 p.m. at night, they're way more likely to reply because they're probably just on their phone doing whatever anyways. And so you have that full-time job, you just spend the nighttime actually sending out messages, and people will probably be more responsive anyways. So,
Okay, I love all of this, but I think the elephant in the room is you love B2B agencies, and all the other SMMA coaches, myself included, are saying go after local businesses. Now, to be fair to myself, I don't say just go after local businesses. I tell my students, here's a list of a massive amount of niches. And by the way, you should probably choose something that's not on this list because everybody else that's reading this list is going to go after these. What's the hack to find the untapped niches? Because I feel like you have a knack for this. We also talked about a mutual friend who has a knack for this and has done a good job. But like, and just a note, like a personal note to anybody listening, local business is great. Most people start there because that's all they understand, because they've never been in this online world. Like they've never been in a world where somebody can go on Facebook, send DMs and make 100K a month. Like that doesn't like compute for them. Online coaching businesses, anything where influencers are promoting products or whatever, like that sort of business doesn't make as much sense to them. And so they're just like, okay, I'm going to go restaurants. Like that's I started out with restaurants. So many people want to do restaurants. There are people who've built massive agencies in the restaurant niche. Don't get me wrong. However, there are more businesses in the online space, in the B2B space, that are easier to get results for in many cases, easier to reach out to, easier to provide an ROI positive service for. And we're just not reaching out to them because we don't know about it and we're not comfortable with it. So that's my 2 cents on it. Now, Karston, tell us how to find the untapped niches.
Are you meaning like in the B2B and B2C space, or just B2B?
Just, yeah, anything. Like what's a trick or a hack to get around? I'm going to start a dentist agency. I'm going to start a chiropractic agency.
Yeah.
I'm going to start a med spa agency type thing.
Yeah, I think my biggest hack, it's not really a hack, but I think honestly, probably the best thing you could do is literally just copy somebody else. And I know that's like copy somebody else that nobody's copying. That's the thing. All right.
Okay.
So if I I have an example of someone that did this. I had another client. He's targeting a unique industry. I never heard anybody target that industry, and he crushed, right? He got a ton of clients within the first month targeting that industry. And then I told this other client, I was like, oh yeah, I had this other client that targeted this other industry. He took that and he made a ton of money in that industry too. So he just copied that person that I told him about, right? And usually it's like, as the coaches, right, us here, we're like, you don't want to copy anybody. But my first client that I got in SMMA or within the B2B space was, I saw someone else posting saying, does anyone need help getting appointments? And I saw that post had 60, 70 comments. And I was like, I didn't even know that was an offer that I could pitch to people. I'm really good at getting appointments. And there's so many people that are actually interested in this. So like, what if I just did that? I took his post, I copied the exact same thing, and I pasted it in the same group, and I got 20, 30 comments. And that's how I got my first B2B client, which is literally copying somebody else. So it's like the best thing you can actually do. And so to find that really is you just go into these Facebook groups. Like think of different industries that no one's ever heard of. And the way to do that is you can even just go on Google Maps. You can go through all these niche lists. Now there's tons of niche lists that have like really extensive weird things, or think about what your mom knows, what your dad knows, but I know that's because you had an orthodontist friend's dad was just something weird. And even though there's like no real strategy for finding the weird thing, there's plenty of lists with tons of industries, right? So I like the B2B industries. So that's what I would go into. There's like business insurance, which nobody's targeting that. There's business loans, nobody's targeting that. There's mergers and acquisitions companies that not a lot of people are targeting right now. There's staffing agencies that no one's really helping. There's tons of them. There's PR firms. And so you go into those. You find a Facebook group with PR firms or business insurance or business loans, and then someone posts something saying, hey, we can help people we have 10 people that are interested in business loans. Is anyone willing to take them on? All these people are commenting on that. Just copy that post and paste it yourself, or reach out to what I did is another thing you can do. Someone else is posting, let's just say in a staffing agency group or whatever, right? Staffing agencies, they just help other companies do staffing. And so someone posting there saying, hey, we can get you 100 new staffing contracts using cold email. Is anybody interested? 100 comments, people saying, I'm interested. That means people are interested with that exact specific offer, right? So what I do is I'll copy that exact post and I'll turn it into a message, and then I'll reach out to people saying, hey, I can get you 100 staffing contracts using cold email. Would you be interested? Obviously, they're already interested because I said yes to that original post. And so that's probably the best thing to do, is actually copy someone that it's working for them, but that nobody else is actually copying. I know that's a little weird. And then the other thing to finding industries is, honestly, I just talk to so many people per day, and they just tell me all these weird things. Like some guy, a friend of mine, he started a furniture store, and he made $700,000 this year with a furniture store, just doing like this very simple marketing, like dumb marketing. And it's like, wow, that's insane how well that works, right? And so I think that one thing I used to do when I was younger, just getting started, was I would watch Sam Ovens' client testimonial videos. And they would say, oh yeah, I'm a business broker and I hired this cold calling team. And this is actually one that I remember. I hired a cold calling team and they got me a whole bunch of cold calling leads from that. And then some other lady was like, oh, I target accountants and we reach out to them this way, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so I just take somebody else's client testimonials or like just find someone else that's doing a good in business that no one else is really copying, and then just copy them. That's really honestly the best thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, those testimonial videos help me a ton as well. Yeah. What I hear you saying is the greatest indicator of future success is prior success. Like, don't try to be fancy. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. You can start Tesla or Ford Motor, 20 years from now, when you actually have some business acumen. Today, go find the person that nobody else is copying and model your business off of them.
Yeah.
And like, that works.
Yeah.
It really does.
And if you think about it, like Tesla was bought and grown, right? And then Ford wasn't the first car, right? And so it's like the Wright brothers didn't really make any money off the airplane, right? They invented the airplane, but they didn't really make any money off of it. And that's my job, is inventing new strategies, right? And so it's like, but the people that make the money are the people that are, I don't know if you've ever read Made in America by Sam Walton, but it's like he talks about innovating, right? He was like a clown on the side of the street to try to get people to come into Walmart. But the way they actually grew to like multiple stores and like actually got really efficient was just getting efficient. And like they bought a whole bunch of computers when that was new, and they were able to tell, how much inventory they had in each place. And that's what really grew them from, like, got them way past Kroger and everything else. And so it's not like the first people that come up with a strategy or the first people like just finding something brand new that nobody else is doing, but find what's actually working and then just do it better than what the person is doing. And it's usually not that hard. So
yeah, Crumble Cookies is a great example. So they started in Utah, where I'm from, and they've gotten massive now, like all over the world. But there's actually a cookie company that came out before them called Chip, and they always say on the outside of their stores, the original cookie company, or the original like drop off cookie company, or whatever they call themselves. And it's like, nobody really cares you're the original. Like, Crumble's doing way better,
Same.
And it's just how it works. Like, just take a concept and do it better.
Yeah.
And that better might not even be better cookies. It might be better marketing and more marketing, Yeah,
I think there's a lot of different ways of changing. I think that's another big thing that people aren't doing, is we can take something that's working really, really well and just change the model of how we're pricing things or how we're delivering the thing. So for an example, you have Blockbuster. I don't know if you remember Blockbuster. But I would go there as a kid, and they made a ton of money from late fees, and everybody hated it because there were so many late fees. But they're like the only one around, and that's how they made a whole bunch of money. That's why they grew so fast. And so then you have a Netflix that comes around. They have no unique value other than that you can buy it online, but it's like same cost, maybe a slightly cheaper. But like, I just go to Blockbuster and get it for $1 more, and I can get it today rather than waiting 3 days. And so then Netflix is trying to think of what can we do to actually differentiate ourselves, and they come up with a subscription. And so now they do the subscription, and people, you get 3 DVDs at any given time. You can switch them out anytime. There is no late fees, right? And everyone's like, holy cow, that's amazing. And so Netflix grows like crazy. And then also they invest in technology. And so now Blockbuster is irrelevant. And then now everything is subscription, which I hate. I hate everything that everything is a subscription, because you have all these $10 subscriptions they have to pay for, and you forget about all of them. And so then you have AppSumo that comes around. And AppSumo is like how you can buy software for one time, which is exactly how we bought software 10 years ago. But now everything's a subscription, so it's annoying. And so now AppSumo grows into a $100 million company because they just changed the model again. So it's like, if you just change the model to something that nobody else is doing, or just something else that works better. So if everyone's doing subscription, that's what I did. That's actually how I grew a lot too, was copying somebody else, and then everybody else was selling a monthly retainer. So what I did was I'll sell you a one-time thing. You get to keep access to everything. I'll make sure that everything is working ready for you. And if it doesn't work, I'll give you all your money back, and you get to keep everything, and you only pay me one time, right? That's way easier to say yes to. I don't pay anyone a $1,500 a month retainer. I don't know if you do, but I don't pay anyone a $1,500 a month retainer. And I make a good amount of money, right? So if some other business owner who's like doing okay, not very well, it's hard for them to say yes to a $1,500 a month retainer, and that's why churn rate is so high. But if I said, hey, I'll help you set up your ads and make sure that they're profitable within 1 month, and if it doesn't work, you don't pay me anything, and you only have to pay me one time. Even though, people say, oh, you have to keep chasing clients, but I've never gone under 50K a month doing that model, So it's like, you just change the model to be, and I just took that idea from AppSumo, because I was like, well, I hate paying monthly subscriptions. AppSumo makes it better for me. Why don't I just do that? And I just took two ideas that I saw working right now, put them together, and now I'm here.
Love it. I will say maturing is knowing that recurring revenue is better than one-off revenue.
Yeah. I believe that too. But it's like,
getting started, like, who cares? And I heard about a company, all they do is Salesforce implementation. So it's like somebody coming in and building out your high level account, and they sold for like $1 billion.
Dang, that's crazy.
Coming in and like doing stuff. I don't know if there's monthly fees associated with that, but it sounds like that would be kind of like a one-time thing, and then maybe some maintenance. Mm-hmm. Amazing model. Love that.
Yeah. And there's also upsells, like, you can sell the one-time thing and then be like, yeah, well, we have this upsell where we can do it for you monthly for $500 a month, which is what I'm probably going to do, is sell a VA for, $1,500 a month on top of the one-time setup, so stuff like that.
Okay. So next question I have for you is, you have all these creative outreach strategies. For example, sending people 1 cent on PayPal, which went viral in the high level Facebook group multiple times.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And
that's so funny.
It's so funny because the comments are so mixed. Like, half the comments are like, wow, this is super creative, that's awesome. The other ones are like, these people are ruining everybody's lives by sending outreach messages. I can't even log into my email without getting depressed anymore.
Yeah.
So anyway, you've got the PayPal one. You've got using other people's SMTP provider to send emails, for example, like sharing a Notion dashboard with somebody. Notion will send the email, so you're pretty much guaranteed to get delivered. Same with Google Calendar, etc. And while they're flashy and they do get opened, I feel like I've sort of seen this trend with these more like fancier ones, that down the line, it's just like the conversion isn't as, while the open rate may be high, the conversion isn't as high. Am I misunderstanding that, or would you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, I think a lot of times the reason I kind of come up with these flashy things is because people like them, and they're like, holy cow, right? And they're like, oh, this is crazy. And then people realize it's like, and that's why I don't really do everyone reaches out. I've got so many people saying, can you teach me the PayPal thing? And I'm like, okay, I tried it. I did it. And I sent 500 messages, spent $5, so a penny per, message. And I got one booked call. It was okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. And, I probably could, that's $5 per booked call, but I got that call within like $2 of sending messages. And I sent another $300 worth of messages, 300, and I didn't get anything out of it. So I could keep going, but it seems like you have to do a lot of volume in order for it to, work long-term. 0.5% book call rate. I don't know, maybe something like that. But maybe not worth it, right? And so I see them like, they pick up quick and then they die quick. for some of like the unique ones. Some of them stick around. Like I think the FaceTime outreach will stick around. I think it can be really lucrative
Yeah.
because it's just
Yeah.
an extension of cold calling. And I think they can work. I think a lot of, I don't know, some of the ones that you're talking about, I think they'll work quick, and then if it does work really well, the platform will try to shut it down. So like if PayPal actually did work really well, and a lot of people started sending one penny, PayPal will probably start trying to shut it down. But it got popular. I think people think it's cool, but I don't think a lot of people are actually doing it. So PayPal doesn't care. I think the Google Calendar invites actually did work really well. And it was very similar in terms of like the amount of booked calls I was getting compared to cold emails. So maybe like a 0.5% booked call rate, a 1% booked call rate, nothing crazy. But a lot of the calls I was getting were closing, and it was completely free, right? With cold email, it can cost a lot of money to create multiple email accounts, all this jazz. Completely free, send out thousands, right? And so that Google did eventually, they didn't shut it down, but they basically made it to where like if you send out a lot, we're just going to send you to spam, and so it won't actually show up onto their calendar. And so they get shut down if they start noticing it's not working. And so some of these unique ones, they're just not, they can be worth doing. I think some of the unique ones that are worth doing right now are like personalized outreach. I have a video where I just sit there and I actually personalize like 5 emails, right? And it takes me an hour to do 5 emails, but I get 3 positive replies, people that are interested. And so it's like 3 booked calls in 1 hour. Obviously, everybody would say yes to that, right? It just takes actually focused effort in actually doing it, right? Or just doing the messages from my phone. I haven't done like a voice message thing yet. I think it's a good idea too, like just sending actual personalized voice messages. It can be good. I had somebody in my group who was like sending messages as if like using Obama's voice, like Obama's AI voice. And that's amazing. But all the people that he was reaching out to were like middle of America and that love Trump. And so they're like, oh, I hate Obama. So it didn't work. So there's things like that I think could work. But again, things that are working right now. The personalized Loom video stuff is working. So if you send an email saying, hey, I made you this quick Loom video, and then there's tools like VuLeads, VuLeads.com, or Pitch Lane that'll create the personalized Loom video for you, and it'll automate that Loom video, whatever. So those ones are working pretty well for people. There's also what else is working? Just the personalized stuff is working really well for like the way I personalize things, where you can find people on YouTube and then say, hey, I love your YouTube channel. I want to see if you're interested in blah, blah, blah. And people, it's just a huge ego stroke, and they take that, and a huge response rate. Also, the partnership copy, I think, is huge. We say, hey, I want to see if you're open to a partnership. Everybody's open to a partnership way more than hiring an agency or asking for a job. I think that one's huge too, even though it's not like a unique outreach strategy, but you can apply it to any outreach strategy that you do, where you just got people saying, hey, I do marketing. I'm just looking for a position. I have experience getting as an SDR, getting 120 appointments per month for other companies. I work with dozens of companies. I want to see if you guys are hiring anybody right now. Right. That's what I would reach out to if I was trying to get an SDR position as a B2B agency. So you get a job as a 1099, getting paid $15 an hour, which is like $1,500 a month. And then you just get 5 jobs, and basically you just have 5 clients, So things like that you can do.
Okay. I will say a hack. The only DMs that have worked on me in the past year have been them asking me what is a genuine question. Like somebody yesterday was like, hey, like I saw you have a YouTube channel. I was just wondering if you have any tips on growing. And they had done a little bit more of like, oh, I noticed we have this thing in common. Like we're from the same state. And I responded back, and then the pitch came. It was like, oh, thank you so much for sending this. By the way, they wanted me to promote something on my YouTube channel. So that one makes sense. But the other one was like, hey, I have questions about, is this viable when it comes to an agency? This many clients, this amount per month. Can I achieve this in this many months? And I was like, yeah, probably. Provided a bit more context back to them, because me thinking, they're going to join the program at some point, and then they had, at the end of the day, they had something to pitch.
Yeah.
However, I would say like a lot of people will come in and be like, I'm interested in agency dominance. I'm interested in this thing. And it's like I know you're pitching something. Like the way that you're saying this is so like I can sniff it from a million miles away. But when it is actually a genuine question, and I think Ben Shapiro actually said this on a podcast with Graham Stephan. He said, if you want somebody to like you, you should ask them to do something for you.
Mm-hmm.
like kind of reverse reciprocity, because when they help you, then they're like, oh yeah, like I helped this person, I feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you ask them something else, they're more likely to do it again.
Yeah, I think Benjamin Franklin did that. Like this guy, but uh, he did like he borrowed a book from somebody just to win like a political race, something like that.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah, I get those too, and I respond to those like I'll be like, yeah, I think if I were you, I would target this, or people ask that, and they're like, cool. Also, but that turns into like a bait and switch thing, and then I'm guessing from
Yeah.
there you go, and then you just don't respond, so it doesn't
Yeah.
really turn into a book
There have
call.
been a couple where the subconscious cues that they're giving off are so positive and so genuine that they're the ones that I've considered the most, but I'm very trained in
Mm-hmm.
not buying these things. And so I'm thinking of doing a video like MBKHD did one where he's like, I responded to every email for
Yeah,
a
dude, I
month.
thought about that too. Or like something like I'm judging all your outreach strategies or all your outreach messages, and I just go through all my
Yes,
DMs. I'm like, this
yes.
sucks, this sucks, this sucks. Uh, yeah, that's a good idea too. And so like,
Because I get video editor ones
oh
so
yeah, same.
much, way too
Yeah.
much. And I was looking for like a backup editor at one point, and this guy he had worked with like a 200,000 subscriber YouTube channel. I was like, cool, like you just got lucky because on the day that you sent me this, I was considering it. And so we're going to try you out. And it seems like you have a good portfolio. Turns out it was a complete lie. He hadn't worked with that guy. The whole portfolio was a sham and the
Dude,
video was terrible.
yeah. The only one I responded to was someone actually made me an intro, and it was like all this infographic. Like I knew it took forever to, I don't know. Had all it's like all this After Effects stuff, right? That they added to it, and I do After Effects. I know how long it takes. I was like, dang, that's actually really good. They actually did put the time into it, and then I was like, all right, cool, yeah, I'll hire you for this one video. And then a week later, they're like, oh yeah, the video's gonna be done. And then another week, nothing happened. I was like, all right, well, I guess sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's sad. A lot of professionalism, like there's a professionalism epidemic going on right
yeah,
now. People trying to start agencies, and then they're like, oh, I keep losing all my clients. Everybody charged back. And I'm like, what happened? They're like, oh, I went on vacation. I didn't respond to him for a week.
yeah. That's actually what's happens to me sometimes. Is I'll just go on vacation. I'll still respond, but I think people, if they know I'm on vacation, they're like, yeah, I want my money back. I'm like, dang, what the heck? So that happens to me too. But I think I do have a guy that I don't know if it's working well for him, but he was trying the bait and switch thing. Like he was saying, hey, do you guys have an ATM? No, we don't have an ATM at our facility. Okay, cool. I just want to see if you want me to put an ATM in your building. And I think that was working for them. And I think also he was doing it from some other industries. I think it can work, the bait and switch thing. I just don't like it. But I think it's worth a test. Like I haven't actually put in a solid test where I say, okay, it has this much response rate, this much call rate. I don't know that, but I usually just don't do it.
Yeah. Everything I've been proven wrong so many times. I'm not going to have a hard, fast rule. The only hard, fast rule I have is don't insult the person, because it's just not, I don't know. Like every day I get someone every single day saying, you do a terrible job on YouTube with your thumbnail. You do a terrible.
Yeah, that's the worst. Yeah.
Like, your YouTube videos have 0 SEO. I'm like, no, they don't. Like literally anybody can look at them and say that they do.
Something I think can work, instead of saying like, yeah, you're terrible. I think that's the wrong thing to do, because that you kind of want to stroke their ego. But something that does work is saying, hey, I noticed something wrong with your video. Or hey, I noticed something wrong with your website. And they're like, okay, well, what's wrong with the website, right? And then that can turn into a yes. So I've had conversations where I say, hey, I just want to see if you're interested in getting 10 new appointments per month. They're like, I don't think I can do that. I said, oh yeah, that's cool. I just noticed some problems with your website, and I just wanted to see if you need help fixing them. They're like, oh, well, what was wrong? And then I turn that no into a yes. So that works. But yeah, if you're just going out saying you suck and I want to help you, you're like, yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for those who are sending those outreach messages, just don't. For those who enjoyed this video, go check out Karston's channel, because it is the highest ROI on my time on YouTube.
Thank you.
Besides maybe the Iced Coffee Hour podcast, which I absolutely love. But those two channels, highly recommend. Karston, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you, dude. That's really nice of you. Oh, actually, I have a gift for your child. I thought I could send you this. Just send me your address. I'll send you this for your kid. You know.
No. All right. Take care, everyone.